Alright, so I'm 16, and in a couple of years I'll be going to university. Now there's a lot of things to worry about when you go to university. Housing, food, tuition, and preferably a car. It would be great to have a car. But the problem is, the vehicle cost is way too high for the amount of time that I would use the vehicle.
So our solution is Leasure. So what Leasure does is lower the barrier of entry of using a car by splitting the cost of the rental among various users. So that way we can decrease the amount of underused assets and increase the affordability of car usage. So right now, the conventional methods of getting from point A to point B is either using public transit, a personal vehicle, or Uber. So Uber and personal vehicles are really expensive, and public transit can be very time-consuming. So what we suggest is using micro-leases. So the way it would work is that you would get together with a whole bunch of friends, and you would lease a car together, and you'd split the cost. So that way you're reducing the amount of money you have to spend, and you're saving time versus other methods like public transit. So right now, there are 4.1 million cars that are just sitting on dealership lots and they're not being used for anything, and they can be used to make money. That's a $10 billion untapped market. The average cost for a user of Leasure would be $2.6 per day. So this is actually cheaper than all the other methods. Public transit, you have to pay for 2 ways, which goes over 2.6, and Uber and personal vehicles are much more expensive. So right now, the competition charges way more. So Uber, their average ride is $13.40, Lyft is $12.50, and these are just one way. So on the way back, you're paying double that. And RideShift, which also rents out cars, they only offer their service to taxi drivers, not for everyday people. So the way our MVP would work is that we'd have a platform, and you would find your friends and choose a car to rent. And then you'd go to the dealership and collect the car. And you would make arrangements with your friends who uses the car when. In the future, what we'd like to do is have a smart system that makes it so that you pay for the amount of gas that you use. Because if I don't decide to use a car 1 week, I don't want to pay for the gas that my friend used driving all over the place. And we use a smart AI system to connect you with people you're comfortable sharing a car with. And you can use a Tinder-like UI to, you can choose people you're comfortable with. You can meet up beforehand and make sure you're comfortable.
So we'd start with targeting 16 to 24-year-olds, preferably in university campuses or apartments. We want them to know each other. We want them to be in close proximity, so they have easy access to the purchase that they make together.
Like, I know many people at Waterloo, they live in dorms, and they constantly tell me the pain of having to go to the campus. It's a daily struggle. So if you just pay $2.6 a day, that's nothing for the comfort that you get. Even the founder of Lyft agrees that car ownership will be dead by 2025. And Leasure helps the world take a step in the right direction. Thank you.
Do you schedule who moves the vehicle with the platform, or does that have to choose the micro-lease?
Right now, in the MVP, the platform wouldn't help you decide who uses the car when, but maybe once we get the MVP out, in the future you could consider making sure that someone's not hogging the car. That would be.
Well, that's the easiest part, right? If it is, right? I mean, of all the things that you got to put in place to make this happen, the scheduling math is the easiest part, right?
So that's why we're using micro-leases. So if you have a fallout with your friend, you don't have to worry about being stuck in a long-term contract. So if all of a sudden, we decide, I don't want to share a car with you anymore, I don't like you anymore, it's a micro-lease, you can just wait till the end of that short-term lease. And then.
First of all, guys, this is super impressive. Really, really, really well done. Thank you. Now, I don't know, it may be beyond the scope of just a day and a half of working on this, but does there not have to be like a title leaser, like somebody in case something happens with the party group, someone's responsible? You know, there's
Yeah. So it could be a joint lease, and we were talking about maybe having a tracking system so the app always knows who drove the car when. So then, let's say I drove the car somewhere and I crashed it, then I would be liable for that because the app will make sure it knows who's driving, and that will also be implemented in the gas pricing. So if the app knows who's driving when, you have the liability. You can account for the liability, and then you can also make sure the gas price is easily distributed.
you guys come up with this since yesterday, or you've been thinking about it?
No, it's just true.
The key part is what we talked about with the cars that are sitting idle, right? Those cars that are all sitting idle, I mean, I don't know anything about that part of the world, but presumably they're just being wasted,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly, yeah. So that's a big
At
issue.
some point, maybe they're sold as used cars, or they're scrapped, or whatever it is, but if you can unlock the latent value there, that's huge.
Yeah, they still have the maintenance costs, so they become more of a liability
We'll
than.
talk more after.
Sure.
But keep in mind, like, getting partnered with the actual university. Like, imagine you're a part of a residence where you already have a fixed group of people, and like, do you want the car option?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
don't-
and they use
there you
Uber
go.
when they're all going out to party, but then, anyway.
Stop talking, not to say.
Well done, man. Really, really.